Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be discussing this moment at a rally where students shouted Jesus is Lord and Kamala Harris' reaction to it. And we'll also be talking about Donald Trump's reaction to it and really talk about this in a biblical light and what we can learn from this. What does the Bible say about this? What would God teach us in this situation as well? Because we can learn from these situations also. My name is Vince Revo, pastor at Conquer Assembly. If you are free on Sundays, 1:45 p.m., please join us for our church service at 3730 Kingston Road if you are in the Toronto area. Okay, well, let's get straight into it. Here, what's going to happen is that these kids are going to shout, Jesus is Lord, and we're going to see Kamala Harris' reaction to it. So let's go ahead and play that.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
All right, so before this, these students shouted, Jesus is Lord in unison, I believe. And, well, that was her response. Her response was, oh, you're at the wrong rally.
Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally.
And the crowd reacts as well. You see that obviously she's feeding off the energy of the crowd. And she sees that, oh, the crowd is also laughing and cheering that they're at the wrong rally, and let's see what else she says about that. So we know that the crowd is really on her side here.
No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street.
So obviously this is ad lib. She's saying, no, it's the smaller rally down the street. So is she talking about Donald Trump in this moment, or is she talking specifically that, hey, if this was a Christian rally or this was a religious rally or church rally, it would be much smaller than her rally? We're not sure, right? But is that what she's insinuating here? But we'll talk a little bit about that as well, because the crowd is still obviously egging it on. Why is the crowd doing that? So is the crowd saying this because they're also not followers of Jesus Christ?
And if you want to know what?
And we'll go into Donald Trump's reaction in a little bit here. But you know, when you say something like that, when you say you're at the wrong rally, it's implying that, okay, well, this rally is a political rally. This is not about faith. This is for election. This is not about Jesus. And really, when Christians say that Jesus is Lord, they're reminding the world and they're reminding everybody, including all those at that rally, that, well, all earthly rulers, all presidents and vice presidents are limited. And politicians and politics at its best can address, yes, some social problems, maybe economical issues, but it ultimately cannot change the human heart. It cannot, as we've seen in millennia, it cannot bring lasting peace and justice. Psalms 146, 3-4 reads, "Put not your trust in princes, in Son of man, in whom there is no salvation. When his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day, his plans perish." We know, just like princes, just like princesses and kings and queens, that eventually, unlike God, unlike Jesus, who is Lord, that all of us, including the best of us, will eventually breathe our last breath. That no matter how powerful or influential Kamala Harris is going to be, or any other political leader, ultimately they are limited. That there are no eternal solutions that they can offer, that their time in office is temporary, their time on earth are temporary, their ability to enact lasting change is restricted by not only time, but their humanity, and that God alone holds ultimate authority and ultimate sovereignty. And that when they're declaring that Jesus is Lord, I believe personally that these students are declaring that Jesus is the one that has ultimate authority, even over Kamala Harris. And when they're told that they're at the wrong rally, are they saying that, well, Jesus is not present at that rally? Are they saying that God is not present at that rally? Because when you're making a proclamation like that, when you're proclaiming the lordship of Jesus Christ, and that the rebuttal to that or the response to that is that, well, what is she saying? The lordship doesn't belong here. Because the truth is, wherever we go, Jesus' lordship belongs everywhere. So whether it's in a political rally or at church or in a public square or in somebody's home, Jesus is Lord over all creation. That there is no place where his authority, his presence doesn't apply. And I would argue that America became such a great nation because it upheld biblical principles. In Colossians 1:16-17, it reads this: "For by him," talking about Jesus here, "all things were created in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things were created through him and for him, and he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. So, every ruler, yes, even workplace, yes, even rally, government, nation, yes, even the great nation of the United States, ultimately exist under the sovereign authority of Jesus Christ. And even if they don't acknowledge it, it is not that Christian students at this rally were at the wrong rally, but they were declaring that the truth of Jesus reigns and his sovereignty extends over every sphere of life, including politics, right? No human leader can heal the brokenness of what's happening in America right now. I'm Canadian, so obviously I have no dog in this race. However, outside looking in, you can see that obviously the American people are crying for a fix, something to fix solutions. And, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, even, and we're going to look at his response here, but every politician will talk about fixing America's problems. But ultimately, the root of that problem, the root of that brokenness can never be fixed by a human being. Problems in policy, problems in government action, but America's deepest problem, and we can list them out here: division, injustice, moral decay, which we're seeing. At their core, these are spiritual, and no human leader, no great politician, no great orator can fix the brokenness of sin that plagues every single person and every single nation. There is one person that can fix that, and that's Jesus Christ. Jeremiah 17:9, the heart is deceptive above all things and desperately sick. Who can understand it? The heart is broken. The Bible tells us that the root of our problems is the human heart. It's corrupted by sin. That no matter how much political reform takes place, it cannot heal the inner corruption that is inside each and every one of us. It cannot heal the things that lead to the violence and the greed and the injustice that we're seeing. That there is a transformative power that can heal, and that is the gospel. That is Jesus Christ, that the Holy Spirit can bring true healing. And, we want peace and unity in the U.S., and it's Jesus that can offer that justice, that peace, that unity. And most politicians, including Kamala Harris, really, she'll talk about pursuing greatness and justice and peace, but, policies can only go so far. And yes, we can implement policies that reflect peace, but true peace of the heart, true justice of the heart is only through Jesus Christ, who will one day return to judge the world in righteousness. Isaiah 9:6-7, for to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end, on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time forth and forever. Really only Jesus, who is our Prince of Peace, who is the ruler of all, can bring the kind of justice, the kind of peace, the kind of healing that America needs, that our world needs. And while earthly governments can try to mirror these values to some extent, ultimately we're limited by our human frailty, our human fallibility, our human limits. But the reign of Christ is perfect, and his justice is complete when he returns. Now let's look at Donald Trump's response to all of this, because obviously he's gonna use it as well, right? So here's Donald Trump.
Christians in this race, just listen to what Kamala Harris had to say last week, because when two college students, religious college students, and very good people, everybody said what wonderful young men they were and are, at a campaign stop, she heard shouting from the background, Jesus is Lord. Jesus is Lord. And Kamala Harris.
So I just want to point out here the stark difference here with Donald Trump is when he says Jesus is Lord and then he repeats it, you see cheering in the crowd, right? So there's a stark difference, obviously as a Canadian looking in, between the crowd of Kamala Harris and the crowd of Donald Trump, because the crowd of Kamala Harris is silent when they hear Jesus Lord, but they're loud and cheering when they hear that, hey, this is the wrong rally. But it's the opposite for the crowd where obviously Donald Trump is in at the moment. And I mean, it looks like from the background, you can see here that it is some type of believers convention or rally.
Mocked them and told them they were, quote, you're at the wrong rally, get that. She basically said, yeah, but I won't say that because people didn't hear that so much. But then she said, you're at the wrong rally.
And she didn't say that.
And that's really
right?
what she meant. That's really what she meant. She's very destructive to religion. She's very destructive to Christianity and very destructive to evangelicals and to the Catholic Church. And she's let me put it this way, Ben, she is your worst nightmare. Much worse than Biden, and he wasn't so hot. But while Kamala says that people who believe in Jesus don't belong to her rallies, you have to remember that that's as loud as it can be. In fact, a lot of people said that would be disqualifying for her. That would be a disqualification. In our movement, we love Christians, we welcome believers, and we embrace followers of Jesus.
So in contrast, there's a big cheer in contrast to what we're seeing at the rally at Kamala Harris, right? the big contrast in obviously what the crowd believes, and you see what they start cheering here. They start chanting Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Thank you very much.
And so, yeah, you see the big differences here. And obviously, both these politicians want Christian votes. And Kamala Harris, in fact, she goes to a church. I don't know if it was before this or after this. And she was even able to speak at the pulpit of that church. But, at the end of the day, true Christianity is not a political tool. It's often used as a political tool because, well, they can use it to get your votes. But true Christianity is really a call to discipleship. It's a call to follow Jesus Christ, not to follow anybody else. And while Donald Trump's statements may resonate with a lot of Christians, we have to be careful as well not to confuse political support with true discipleship. That you're not a Christian just because you follow or are going to vote for Donald Trump. They will use Christianity, whether it's the right or left, to make claims that, we love Christians, we embrace followers of Jesus Christ. And these are great things to hear. But Jesus also warned us against empty declarations and allegiances to his name that are not backed by genuine obedience and transformation. Right? We see in Matthew 7, he says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will I enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day, many will say to me, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and cast out demons in your name and many mighty works in your name?' And then I will declare to them, 'I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness.'" In some translations, you workers of iniquity. So it's not here that he doesn't say, "Oh, you didn't know me." He says, "I didn't know you." And so it's great, shouting Jesus, Jesus. It's great. It's just that it's not enough. And to make claims that we love Christians, that's great. Claims are great. But we want to, I think most of all, Christians should look for actions and policies of a political leader that would align with teachings of Jesus Christ, that would align with biblical truths. And so that will be the ultimate test, because Jesus calls for obedience. He calls for a heart of transformation, not just outward declarations that we can all do. And the authenticity of following Jesus is measured by a life lived according to his teachings, not any kind of political alignment or rhetoric. And I know this is a very Democrat versus Republican time, but loving Christians means following Christ's example and supporting Christians and supporting them in love and humility and service, because we're not just called to declare him as Lord, but also to live out that example of love and humility and service and patience and the fruit of the Spirit, right? So yeah, Philippians 2:3-5 says, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. Have this in mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus." We know that when we embrace the followers of Jesus Christ and other Christians, we know that ultimately it will lead to compassion for the needy. It will lead to care for the marginalized. And loving Christians is not just a tool for political use, but it is sacrificial. It is a justice for all people, mercy for all people, not just to invoke his name for political gain, but also the Bible calls us to not just say, but to also act on it as well, right? So we see that Jesus says, we will know by their fruit. And so to look at that as well. And I just want to close with this, that, neither Kamala Harris or Donald Trump can save America. And I know a lot of people are looking to both of these people to save America, but only Jesus can save America. Kamala Harris told the Christian students that they were in the wrong place, but they were actually proclaiming the only message that has power to save and that has power to change. But neither Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or any political figure in the future can save America. We can pass laws and create policies and run successful campaigns, but ultimately salvation belongs to Jesus, and the salvation that humanity needs is from Jesus, and only God can do that. In Acts 4:12, it reads, "And there is salvation in no one else, for there is no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved." Salvation, whether it's personal or national in this case, does not come through political ideologies, philosophies, or leaders. It comes through Jesus alone. And that the ultimate hope of America and the world is not found in the ballot box, but in the cross of Christ. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't vote. I think everybody should vote. But while Kamala Harris dismisses Christian students by saying that they're at the wrong rally, these students, the proclamation that Jesus is Lord is a powerful reminder that no rally, no political leader, no human government can fix the deepest problems and brokenness of this nation. And that both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, they're human, and as such, they are limited in their ability to enact lasting true change. They can enact change, but ultimately the human depravity and our fallen nature will swing back to the wrong side. Only Jesus can offer healing and salvation for what America needs at this time. So we'll close with that. Again, if you are in Canada by any chance and you are in Toronto, please join us on Sundays. We'd love to have you. At the end of the day, it's Jesus that is our ruler, and that when we have him by our sides, we are more than conquerors in Christ. So let's leave remembering that. Have a great day. God bless you wherever you are. Have a great morning, great evening, great afternoon. And until next time, we'll see you again.